Welcome, everyone, to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter. I am a curator here in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies at the University of Pennsylvania Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books, and Manuscripts. The Schoenberg Institute, or SIMS as we call it, is a research and development institute, which is embedded in the Kislak Center. We do a lot of neat projects. One of the things that I do is this program, Coffee with a Codex. Once a week, I hop on Zoom for a 30-minute informal show and tell featuring a manuscript from our collection, or occasionally from other collections, but usually I do it here. And today we have one that I haven't looked at before, and this often happens, right? This is not a manuscript I know a lot about. I think I saw it, I don't know how I found this one, but I thought it looked pretty. I thought it was neat, so you get to see it too. So what is it? This is a German manuscript. It is both from Germany and in German, probably from Nuremberg, and we think it's from Nuremberg because there are some signatures from previous owners who can be identified as people who lived in Nuremberg. So here is one, Bartholomeus Vögler is here, Anno Domini 1579. And this is where we get the approximate date for this manuscript. We know it was written no later than 1579. Because that's the earliest date that is written here. So it's 16th century, sometime before 1579. There are a couple of other signatures. So there is I'm pretty sure this is a signature here. It's not in the record, but there is another date here, 1616. So someone else signed their name and put the date 1616, so this was some kind of later owner. There is also, if we go to the back, there is another signature here, Paulus Conrad Furliger. So this is the same last name as the person who signed at the front. This person did not put a date here, but there was a merchant from Nuremberg with this name, Paulus Furliger the Elder, who lived between 1530 and 1604. So this makes some sense. It's not clear from the record how this person is related to Bartholomeus. Maybe a son, or I don't know. Same last name, probably Nuremberg. And I think this is where we get that Nuremberg connection. Now, where did it go after these folks owned it? We don't know. The next piece of information we have is that it was sold by Venator and Hanstein, which is a bookseller in Cologne, Germany, in 2022. So between 1604, that was maybe the date where this person died, and 2022, we don't know. That's pretty normal that we don't know. And then, of course, there is this 1616 date, which would be after the death date of this person, Paulus Conrad Furliger. So if we could make out what this says, that might help us a little bit there. While we're here, this says Folia 22, and I thought, ooh, what does that mean? The book has 22 folios. That's all it means. It's just saying there's 22 folios. So at some point, someone just made a note of that. Probably a bookseller, right? Okay, as I've been talking, you've probably been looking over here and saying, "Ooh, that's what I thought when I first saw this." There's this lovely sort of opening, almost title page-ish thing. So, sort of later 1500s, right? This is solidly post-print, printing press, right? So there were printed books running around at this point. So there's this really interesting period of time from the advent of the printing press in the West, which in Germany actually, right, which is typically noted as being 1450, right? Like that's the date. And then the next 100 years, couple of 100 years, really even further than that, there's this trying to figure out what a book is. Because before the printing press, all books were manuscripts. And then you have the printing press, and so the earliest printed books, like if you ever look at a copy of the Gutenberg Bible, which is one of these earliest printed books, it looks like a manuscript, right? They were trying to make it look like a manuscript because they wanted it to look like a book. And then later, they're like, well, actually a printed book needs different things than a manuscript does. And one of the things that you start seeing in printed books is title pages. And then you start seeing them also in manuscripts. So this isn't exactly a title page. This is actually pretty manuscript-y. We've got some kind of title with a little description, and then this just really gorgeous decoration around it. This is strap work, and you can see, let me zoom in a little bit. Strap work, because it looks like woven. It's designed to, that is starting to annoy me. All right, we'll do that. It looks like woven straps, right? Like it really looks like that, only it's drawn on, which I just think is lovely. And this is sort of typical for the manuscript. We're going to see a lot of this, and we're going to see these decorated initials in red. And I think that red and black are the only colors we're going to see. But that's, it's very striking, right? Like the contrast between those. I haven't told you, I think, what the content of this is. It's prayers. These are prayers in German. And another thing, I don't know a whole lot about the specific historical context for this book, but the language is German, and they're prayers. And earlier in the century is when you have Martin Luther, right? And so this is like Reformation time. And the fact that these prayers are in German and not in Latin tells me that this is probably Reformation, somebody following like the Reformation here. I have not been looking at the chat, and I am sorry. Let's see what we've got. Linda is asking about cropping. I don't think that this has really been trimmed, actually. This it's maybe a little bit close in the gutter. I think it's just close in the gutter. It's just sort of tightly in there. Actually, let me look at the what this says about the binding. So the binding is 16th century. Let's take a look at that. Because it's quite pretty, right? It's leather, sort of stamped leather over boards, but I don't think they're wooden. I don't think it's wooden boards. It's not that heavy. But there we go. So if not original, it's contemporary. It's in the same century that the book was written. So it hasn't been trimmed on any side. I don't think. We still have pretty good. For those of you who are new and don't know, like trimming was a practice where sometimes when books are rebound later, which happens all the time, they're actually cut. And sometimes it's cut very close, like you lose text and you lose illustration and stuff. But that's not, I don't think that's happened here. We have these nice, hardy margins. All right. So we have something like 20 prayers. I do think Murray is saying this. It has been, there's been work done on it, right? So just because this is an early binding doesn't mean there's never been conservation work. And he's pointing out that the hinge has been repaired. Here, there's been some kind of paper that's been put in here to keep it from falling open, right? From it being broken here to expose the spine. And so that's kind of covering up a little bit here to make it look a bit closer to the fold, as he is saying. So, all right. So this has approximately 20 prayers. with this calligraphic ornamentation, including prayers for the morning. That is morning, not mourning. The forgiveness of sins, comfort and help, the sermon, receiving the Eucharist and the evening meal, and the Holy Trinity. I haven't gone through to see where all of these prayers are. So if you know German, that could be a fun project for you to sort of see which prayers line up to which topics. I just kind of want to look at this because I think it's pretty, and I love the hand here, the script that's being used, which is a Gothic textualis script, and then you have these sort of larger. So it's most of it is written in this sort of smaller script, and then we have larger words with a little bit of decoration and a little bit of the red color. So it is a small book, which makes me think that it was probably somebody's personal prayer book that they would carry around with them, right? So being small, that's nice. I'm just going to pause and look at this. I will never get over this kind of decoration. Like, somebody took a lot of care in here. But what Brian will notice, Brian is a regular here who is very into a couple of things. See, you beat me to the punch. He says there in the chat, no marginalia. Yes, there is. I don't think there's any marginal notes in here, but we can see as we keep going. Also, I don't see any ruling. So often there will be little lines that are either drawn or inscribed in the pages. This is parchment. So this is animal skin. This is not paper. But there will be lines. So the scribe can write their lines straight. But I'm not seeing any kind of ruling that's really obvious. And actually, this page even looks, I don't know if you can see, it looks a little bit, well, maybe not. It's not super straight, right? Especially that looks like not straight, which makes me wonder if they were writing without any ruling at all, or if there was something underneath, maybe that they were trying, like some kind of guide on the back side, but that would only work on one side of the page. I don't know. And this also looks a little bit, I don't know. Although, if we go back, there was a page that had some lines, but I don't know if that was here. If that's just underlining after the fact. I'm not really sure what is happening there, and I can't tell if that is on top of the text that's written there or underneath it. And if it was on there first, again, it's like not really actually in line with the text. So I don't know. Oh, let's see. Somebody's asking about a logic to which words are read. So as Amy said, usually the first words of a prayer, but on the left page, the word for and is in red. Let's see. I think this is further along. Yeah, usually it's just the sort of the openings, but then there's also, like, this is sort of a random uppercase letter, and like this is also sort of uppercase, and it's not in red, but it does have a little red line in it. So I don't know. Carol is asking why the margins are so large compared to the amount of script. So I have a theory about that, and it's actually related to this being written on parchment. And parchment would have been expensive, more expensive than paper. And paper would have been totally around, right? Like there would have been a lot of paper around in this time of the 16th century. So the parchment would have been expensive to begin with, and then not filling up the page means you're using more parchment than you have to. So Brian is saying probably for the ease of reading, so that could be part of it, that just having a lot of space there makes it a little bit easier to read. But it also signals that I don't have to use all of the parchment up. Yes, Amy says conspicuous consumption, luxury, which is kind of what I'm thinking too. And even though this doesn't have, the only colors are black and red. There's no gold, right? There's no illumination. That is a way to, which I have to say, like having a lot of color, having a lot of decoration, having a lot of illumination, a lot of gold would have been a way in previous centuries, previous decades, to show this is a luxurious book that, that I spend a lot of money on, basically. Remember, but that was Catholic, right? That was like before the Reformation. And now we're in the Reformation. So you don't want to have a lot of that. You don't want it to look like Catholic. You want it to look a little more, I don't know, normal. Normal's not a good word, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to make it look like conspicuous consumption. So instead, you've got this parchment, and then you've got a lot of space, and you've got, really, this would have taken a lot of time, right? Like this is actually really nice decoration here. I do restrained. Yes, Amy, restrained. I think Laura also adds a note, keeps dirty fingerprints off the text. That is also part of it, right? And we can see, if you look, well, you can't because I've zoomed in so far. But there is a lot of like touching around the edges here. This, despite the fact that this doesn't have like marginalia, it's been used, right? There's dirt on it, so we know that people use this. Shreve adds that the complex and varied decorative designs also signify a deluxe production. I do, and this is so interesting because it is like they're trying to signal wealth in a way that works for the way the world is right now. Like, we can't put a lot of gold in it, but we can do this instead, which I think is that's actually pretty neat. So I haven't been counting the prayers as we go, but there we go. I'm just going to keep going. This is great. This is a great conversation that we've got, and it only has 22 pages, so we're going to get to see everything before we're done. I was kind of wondering. Ooh, okay, that's a little different. We've got a nice border, which is not as fancy as you would see in something like a Book of Hours, but it is the same, this kind of style is interesting, although it's not exactly square, right? We've got this little piece, and then this coming out the side. I wonder if those lines were even added later. I don't know, maybe not, because that's a little bit of black there. I don't know exactly what is happening here, but it's very interesting. You know what? I don't think so, because this is separate from this. So maybe I'm looking here. You know what? The black is on top of the red. So the framing was done first, and then that one. Amy says, this is the prayer for the sermon. Okay. So I guess that the kind of framing is saying this is particularly important because it's the prayer for the sermon. So I think that makes sense. Lisa's pointing out that we have folio numbering here. Yeah, so we're on folio 14. Folio, for those of you who don't know, it refers to the entire leaf here. So this is 14, and you see, and then there's 15 here. So if you hear me saying recto and verso, this is recto of 14 because it's the front, also on the right. And then the verso is the reverse, and it's on the back and on the left. So that's the verso. So that was the prayer for the sermon. And then here we have the next one and another one of these great sort of border decorations here. I'm loving the script, which is very German. I mean, you don't have to know German to look at this and say, that's probably German. Because this kind of style really stuck around in Germany, right? It's very similar to black letter. And German immigrants to the United States brought that over. And so I know the Free Library actually has quite a collection of documents from early German immigrants who brought their language and their script with them. This is very interesting. Actually, I see similar letters to this, and sometimes they have little faces on them, but this one doesn't have any little, I haven't seen any little faces on it. Yeah, Shreve says like Fraktur. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know. If you put them side by side, maybe they wouldn't look very similar, but they seem, when I'm thinking about it in my head, it's seeming similar. This is interesting. This Bessere. I said that like it was Latin, so ignore me, but I wonder if this is trying to use up space before they get to the end of the line. I haven't been paying attention to the ends of lines, but I know in Latin manuscripts from a little bit earlier, like Books of Hours, they hate having lines that end and that are blank. So you can see here they've filled in the space, and it feels like here they've actually, the scribe has realized he's not going to be able, if he, he's going to have a lot of space left over, and so he's like, I'll just put this here, and then I can end at the end and just have a little bit of decoration there. Let's see, Laura, the red on the bottom seems really different. Do you mean here? This red? Or was it on a previous page? Yes. Yeah, it looks the same. I mean, it looks like the same color, but it's very hard to tell. It could be. Like maybe it was added. I don't know. Now I'm noticing more of this, like there's a space and then a word there to kind of fill in, and kind of here as well. I bet it's a thing where now that I've noticed it, I'm going to see it everywhere. Amen written in all capitals. Let's go back and take a look. Yes, A-M-E-N. In all the capitals. Here we go. Oh, we're getting close. And here's amen written in lowercase, so a little bit easier to read. Let's see. More of the same, but I think it's pretty neat. Here we go. Oop. Got another one of these great strapwork initials here. And then some of this decoration over here. I'll just zoom in again so we can take a look a little bit. I'm constantly impressed with how people can do that. I am not an artist at all, obviously. Yes. Oop. Here we go. Oh, yes. Amy is pointing out that here is also Amen. And you see, but it's AME with a line over it. And this is an abbreviation. That is a Latin. You see it in Latin. It's a general thing. So if you have a vowel with a line over it, it means that there's an N or an M that's being left out. So that is interesting because we haven't, Amy has pointed this out, but it is unusual in this manuscript. It may imply that the scribe is familiar with writing in Latin because there is an abbreviation there. I don't know. The thing is, I don't look at a lot of German, so I don't know if there was also a lot of abbreviating done in writing German at this time, but definitely in Latin. So that's sort of interesting. And I think the reason that they've done that is because there's no space, right? Again, there's the space issue, only this time instead of having a lot of space left, there's not enough space. So instead of putting the N out in the margin, that would look not great. We're going to put an abbreviation there. That's pretty neat. Let's see. Going, oop. And then we're almost to the end. Here we go. The end of the book. And so you can imagine this little book being carried around. It seems like it has a lot of different kinds of prayers. It's not like, at least it doesn't seem from the list of prayers that it functions like something like a book of hours. So if you think about a book of hours, which has the hours of the Virgin as sort of the central text, which is a set of daily prayers, right? So you start in the morning. They're based on the prayers that monks and nuns say in their monastic houses, right? So you have prayers for the early morning, and then for the later morning, and then for noon, and then in the afternoon, and then so on into the evening. These are more, which again would be a very Catholic thing to do, right? And this is a little bit more just different prayers for whatever it is that you need to pray for at that exact time, which I don't know a huge amount about the Reformation, but it seems like that is sort of a thing here. Amy is also pointing out that it could be carried to church and used during the service. So maybe if there was a time when the preacher is like, let's pray for, I don't know, forgiveness of sins, this has a prayer for forgiveness of sins, and so that could be read along with that. So this was great. Thanks, everybody, for walking through this with me. I feel like I learned a lot just sort of walking through carefully and with your input, so thank you. We'll be back next week. I'll be in Rochester, but I hope you will all be there, and have a great week, and I'll see you then. Bye.